Let's take a trip back to the 1970s, a time of bell-bottoms, lava lamps, and some unforgettable rides. While the rich cruised around in Cadillacs and Lincolns, the real charm was in the affordable cars that packed parking lots and college campuses across America. Think Volkswagen Beetles, Ford Pintos, and AMC Gremlins. These weren't luxury cruisers, but they were the heartbeat of the era, accessible, practical, and full of personality. Join us as we dive into 20 cars from the 70s that were affordable enough for the average American, and in some cases, the only option for those scraping by. Starting us off, the unforgettable AMC Gremlin.
Most car dealers tell you they stand behind what they sell. American Motors dealers let their customers tell you.
This little oddball stood out the second you saw it. That chopped-off rear end made it look like it was missing a piece, but that was part of its appeal. It was weird, unique, and proud of it. Weekend Dad pulls up in one, finger guns blazing, ready for adventure. Marketed as the first American-built import, the Gremlin was built for city life. Small enough to park anywhere, cheap enough to buy on a shoestring budget. At just $1,879 brand new, it was a bargain. You had engine options, too, from a gas-sipping 199 cubic-inch six-cylinder to a 304 V8, if you wanted a little more kick under the hood. Up next, the Chevrolet Vega.
The Folster family introduces Chevy's new little car, Vega.
This little subcompact was GM's answer to the rising popularity of imports like the Volkswagen Beetle. It had sleek, modern lines, and for a small car, it was surprisingly roomy inside. With a starting price of just over $2,000, it was an appealing choice for anyone trying to stretch a paycheck. The 1971 Vega even made waves on the cruising classics scene for its looks alone. One of the Vega's big selling points was its lightweight aluminum engine block, a bold move at the time. Unfortunately, that tech didn't age well. The engine was prone to overheating, warping, and sometimes even total failure within a few thousand miles. Some folks swore their engines just gave up and died on them. Still, despite the flaws, the Vega sold well in the early 70s. It had style, was cheap to run, and for a while, it looked like GM had built a true Beetle killer. Now let's talk about the Ford Pinto.
As of October 3rd, new 78 model Pintos with more standard features will have a lower sticker price than last year's model comparably equipped.
If you were around in the 70s, you definitely saw this one, probably a lot. It was everywhere. The Pinto was tiny, affordable, and fairly efficient for the time, but it's mostly remembered for a major safety issue. Its gas tank was mounted behind the rear axle, and in rear-end crashes, it had a tendency to explode. That led to multiple lawsuits and a black mark that stuck with the car forever. Still, plenty of folks loved their Pintos. At just under $2,000 brand new, it was accessible for many first-time buyers. You had a choice of engines, including a 1.6-liter inline-4 and a 2.3-liter for a bit more punch. It wasn't perfect, but the Pinto had character, and let's not forget that little galloping pony badge, which for many young drivers in the 70s meant freedom. Let's not overlook the Plymouth Valiant, a no-nonsense blue-collar classic.
It is truly a car that looks and drives like twice the price. The 61 Valiant looks like a dream and drives like a dream.
By 1973, the Valiant was starting to look a bit dated, but it still had plenty to offer for families on a budget. It was roomy, smooth riding, and built like a tank. You could snag one for around $2,500, which made it a smart buy if you needed dependable wheels without the flash. Under the hood, you could choose between a durable 225 cubic inch slant 6 or upgrade to a 318 V8 if you wanted more muscle. The Valiant was known for taking potholes in stride and going the distance without much fuss. With its spacious cabin, big trunk, and long-lasting engine, it was the kind of car you took on family road trips without giving it a second thought. It might not have turned heads, but it always got the job done, and that made it a quiet legend in its own right. Then there was the Dodge Dart, another Chrysler staple that became a favorite among everyday drivers.
Meet the 64 Dodge Dart. The new kind of compact in the large economy size. Get behind the wheel of this one.
Around 1973, you could drive off with a brand new Dart for about $2,500. Like the Valiant, it came with engine choices that ranged from a thrifty 198 slant 6 to a punchy 318 V8. But the Dart had something else, a cool factor that made it more than just transportation. This was a car you could daily drive, take on road trips, or even run at the local drag strip. Its lighter body and decent power made it a surprising performer on the track. But even if you weren't into racing, the Dart's simple design, solid build, and reliable drivetrain made it a great all-arounder. It's no wonder these things still show up at car shows. People loved them then, and collectors still love them now. Now we shift gears to a true cultural icon, the Volkswagen Beetle.
What changes would you recommend in the design of the Volkswagen?
This lovable little bug was everywhere in the 1970s, and it wasn't just popular, it was a symbol. With its rounded shape, quirky charm, and go-anywhere spirit, the Beetle captured the hearts of young drivers, students, and free spirits across the country. By the 70s, the Beetle had already cemented its place in automotive history. Priced around $2,000, it was affordable, dependable, and incredibly simple to work on. Its rear-mounted, air-cooled engine wasn't fast, but it was bulletproof. Even novice mechanics could pop the engine cover and tinker. Sure, sometimes the wipers didn't work, or a headlight flickered, but it was a car with soul. The Beetle didn't just take you places, it was part of the journey. That's why it's still one of the most beloved cars in the world today. And when the oil crisis hit, another small import stepped into the spotlight, the Datsun B210.
The B210 is the least expensive Datsun, but it still has all the comfort, performance, and safety features you really want and really need.
This boxy little sedan from Japan wasn't flashy, but it was exactly what Americans needed: cheap, efficient, and nearly indestructible. With a starting price around $3,000, it was within reach for broke college students and families watching every dollar. Its 1.4-liter inline-4 engine sipped fuel and rarely broke down. No fancy interior, no extra frills, but the B210 was practical to a fault. Easy to park, easy to repair, and so reliable you almost forgot you even owned it. And the few times something did go wrong, parts were cheap and repairs were simple. It may not have been pretty, but the B210 helped cement Datsun, soon to become Nissan, as a serious contender in the U.S. market. Next up is another import that made a huge impact in the 70s, the Toyota Corolla.
I wanted an inexpensive quality car and great gas mileage, so Toyota gave me the answer.
Just like the Datsun B210, the Corolla earned a reputation for bulletproof reliability and impressive fuel economy. But it brought a little more to the table: more space, a smoother ride, and just a touch of refinement. With a price tag that hovered around $3,300 at the top end, the Corolla was still budget-friendly. It came equipped with a 1.2-liter or 1.6-liter inline-4 engine, small, simple, and built to last. These engines just kept going, which is why you can still spot a few of these old Corollas chugging along today. Inside, it was a step above its competitors. It had soft cloth seats and a cleaner dashboard layout that gave it a more upscale vibe. It wasn't flashy or fast, but it was dependable and sensible, everything a daily driver needed to be. The Corolla proved that economy didn't have to mean sacrifice, and it became one of the most trusted names in the industry because of it. And then there was the Honda Civic, Honda's first big shot at the American market.
Imagine you are behind the wheel of the brilliant Honda Civic. The Honda Civic CVCC is the undisputed mileage champion. Nearly 600 dealers invite you to test own a Honda Civic. What the world is coming to.
Small, light, and efficient, the Civic hit all the right notes during a time when gas prices were climbing and people wanted more for less. Starting around $2,200, the Civic offered great value for money. Powered by a 1.2-liter four-cylinder engine, it didn't guzzle gas, but still had enough pep to be fun. The interior was basic, but cleverly designed to feel spacious and user-friendly. The Civic wasn't just practical, it was likable. It helped launch Honda into the American spotlight and laid the groundwork for decades of small car success. If you were young, broke, and needed something reliable, the Civic was the car that had your back.
1976 Honda Civic CVCC.
But what if you wanted something a little more out there? Enter the AMC Pacer, a car that truly marched to the beat of its own drum.
If you want this much room, as well as a smooth and stable ride, because now you can get that room and ride in the first wide small car, the AMC Pacer.
With its wide stance, bubble-like windows, and funky styling, the Pacer looked like nothing else on the road. One of its quirks? The passenger door was actually wider than the driver's, making backseat access easier. It was weird, sure, but also kind of brilliant. Starting around $3,500, the Pacer wasn't exactly the cheapest compact car out there, but it offered something different. It came with engine choices like a 232 cubic inch inline-6 or a 304 V8 for a bit more power. The interior was spacious, almost like sitting in a fishbowl with all that glass, and it offered great visibility. People were split on the Pacer's looks. Some adored its offbeat design, others found it downright ugly. But no one ignored it. Love it or hate it, the Pacer left an impression, and that's more than you can say for a lot of cars. And that's just the beginning. From the beloved Ford Maverick to the misunderstood Mustang II, the next 10 cars on our list might be even more surprising. So don't miss Part 2, where we explore more forgotten legends and budget rides of the 1970s that everyday folks could actually afford. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite from today's list, and we'll see you in Part 2.